Hey, my name's Jake Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about a new scheme that's being launched by a local council in order to try and prevent evictions. Now, this is potentially a smart thing because there are so many unnecessary evictions where the two parties just don't talk to each other or there's some confusion in stuff. And often you'll also get tenants that just put their head in the sand. They might actually be able to deal with things, resolve those if a third party stepped in and helped mediate. So in this video, we're going to talk about which council's doing this and if I think it's a good idea and potentially will it get rolled out with other councils around the UK. So before we jump into this, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 45,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property news, and much, much more. And let's get some more views on this video. Your part's simple. Smash like, tickle like, do something to the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that really helps the channel grow. So thanks to everybody that does that. So, what's going on? Well, there is a council in Milton Keynes who are looking to mediate and stop evictions, or stop as many as they can. Now, they've got a new scheme. It's called Call Before You Serve, as in serve eviction papers. And I think this is smart because there are loads of times that you get problems with tenants and you get problems with landlords, and they're just arguing over something that could get resolved if a third party maybe had stepped in and just listened to both sides of the arguments. Now, why would a landlord get rid of a tenant? Let's have a look. Firstly, you're going to look at things like rent arrears is going to be right up there. Maybe the sale of a property. Maybe damage to a property, and antisocial tenants. These are going to be probably the main reasons why somebody is going to get evicted from a property. Now, let's have a look at these. So first off, rent arrears. And this is the same as debt, right? A lot of people get themselves into a pickle. And maybe that's with credit card debt, maybe that's with car finance. There's various reasons that people get into debt and they just ignore it. They put their head in the sand. They think, you know what, I'm just going to ignore this and the problem will go away. But it doesn't. It gets worse. And ultimately, they may end up with a default against their name or a CCJ. But from experience, I've had big debts previously where I've had a business that failed nearly 20 years ago, and that left me with significant debt. And I did put my head in the sand initially, but eventually I figured out that going to those lenders and saying, look, maybe I owe you £200 a month, but I can't afford that right now, but I can afford to pay you £20 a month. And that is better than nothing to that lender. And they'll take that. And eventually, as you get yourself back on your feet, you might start clearing more of that. And that will also help improve your credit rating as well. Now, landlords might consider this as well. You might get a tenant that has, for example, paid rent to you perfectly for 4 years, but then they lost their job and they didn't pay rent for a couple of months. But in that time, they've got a job back and they've got a new job and they could pay the rent going forward. It's just this problem with that rental arrears that they've got. Now, maybe if there was some sort of conversation had, you could agree that they keep paying the normal rent as long as they also chip away at that debt. And that might be £20 a month, £50 a month, or something like that, that moves that debt moving down. Now, as a landlord, if that happened to me, I'd much rather have that than not get that rent at all and have to go through the process of Section 8s to get them out or Section 21s that can cost me money. And the likelihood is if you start that process, they're not going to pay you rent. So that could be a smart thing. The sale of a property, Now, that's a difficult one. If they want to really sell the property, then it's going to be hard to talk that landlord out of it. But often, and a lot of people that watch this channel are looking to sell the property because of lots of external factors, like the renters' rights bill, the tax details and stuff like that. But some of them are selling because the tenant is in rent arrears or they're damaging the property, and maybe having a conversation could fix some of those issues that the landlord thinks, you know what, maybe I'll keep the property. Damage to a property is a hard one. If someone's deliberately damaged your property, you're going to be very frustrated. But maybe a conversation is there and they resolve that or fix some of that at their own cost. Who knows? Antisocial behaviour, that could be a temporary thing. Could be that they had an issue, they've got it resolved. Maybe they're having a difficult time with their partner. Now that's fixed and they're not going to carry on in that antisocial way. Now, all of these things could maybe never get fixed. But the point is, the fact that the Milton Keynes Council is saying that they will offer to mediate if you are a landlord could be good as well. Now, I want to talk about that. So what I mean by that is if you go to the council and you say, I'm going to evict this tenant, and they say, can we try and mediate first? That could be good because potentially you could resolve the issue, get some of your money back that you're owed or some sort of solution. But if you go through the mediation and nothing gets resolved, that could also help in your court case if you're looking to evict that tenant and give you a little bit more ammunition and credibility that you have tried to resolve this issue, but it just wasn't possible. I think that this sort of scheme could start to get rolled out in other councils. I think they'll be looking at what's happening in Milton Keynes and does it cause any reduction in the amount of people that get evicted, because evictions are a major problem for councils. They don't have the social housing or the emergency accommodation or anywhere to put them. In fact, if you serve a notice on your tenant, they tell them to stay there until the bailiffs are there to remove them. That's the problem that you've got at the moment. So the fact that this is looked at, I believe that you'll look at this 5 years later and look at the Milton Keynes data, and I think that it will have improved that relationship between the landlord and the tenant in some circumstances, and I think it will have reduced a small amount of evictions, and that will help the council and that will also help the landlords. Let me know what you think about this, or am I just hoping for the best? I'm sure some of you will say that. Do comment below on all the videos, do subscribe, and also make sure that you grab a copy of our new ebook. Hundreds of you have taken this already. Mortgage Secrets, how to get the best mortgage in 2025. This potentially could save you thousands if you're looking to buy a property, remortgage, whatever it is that you're looking to do. Grab a copy of this today. It's in the description and in the comments. And also check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.